Yes, definitely. Just did. Okay, maybe we will start. So hello everyone again, and thank you for joining us today for this webinar. My name is Anna. I'm a manager for educational programs in Telecom. And here today with us, we have Dmitry Brazhenko. He is our ex-Yandex friend and employee. He was a analyst in search Yandex. And at the moment, he is a software engineer in Microsoft, and he will share with us today some best practices on side-by-side comparisons. Dmitry, the floor is yours. You can share your presentation and you may start.
Yeah, great, thanks. Well, yeah, I'll share my screen. Well, yeah, today I'm going to share you a couple of stories how we can use side-by-side approach and how can we use it Laka. And basically my speech will consist of 3 parts. The first part will discuss a so-called classical side-by-side. I'll show you some techniques, maybe some approaches. The second part is not only about side-by-side, but we call it UX experiments over at Teleka. Well, as Anna mentioned, I used to work at Yandex earlier, and we just had the name side-by-side, but under this name, we also called various UX tests. So I also wanted to share with you some insights how we can use Laka for various UX tests. And after that, I will show you a simple demo. I will show you how we can launch a side-by-side project. And yeah, after that, we can discuss anything you want. So I'll try to answer your questions. And yeah, so I hope that my presentation will last for about an hour, and then we can discuss your questions. Okay, yeah, I think that we can start. As I mentioned, we are going to start with a classical side-by-side approach. So we have a problem, yeah?
I'm sorry, Dima, can you share in full
yes, I think I can. Yeah,
okay.
1 second. I will.
This one, yeah.
Yeah,
great.
Sure. Well, what is our problem? We want to sort objects. For example, we would like to sort search query results, or we would like to sort pictures in our ranking or anything else, and we would like to measure it. And moreover, we need some data of perfect sorting. And how can we make our users or make people sort objects? Well, basically there are 3 approaches. The first approach is called Pointwise, the second is Pairwise, and the last one is Listwise. What is the Pointwise approach? Pointwise approach is an approach when we have one object and we ask people to assume a number, a number like a rating for each object. What is the cons of this approach? The problem with this approach is that it's quite difficult to understand what is 1 or what is 10, and for a person it's really difficult to create a pointwise score per each object. So the second one approach is Pairwise. Pairwise approach for sorting is an approach when a user gets 2 objects and he tries to compare them, and after that we get lots of comparisons, and we use these pairwise comparisons to create we use these pairwise comparisons to create a ranking. And the last one approach is a listwise approach, and we ask users to get a list of objects and sort them directly, and this is the way how we get the perfect ranking. So the problem with the last approach is that many users can get, if we ask a lot of people to sort objects, it can be difficult to sort them, and we get various sorting, and it can be very difficult to find a perfect one. And the problem with the second approach, with the pairwise approach, is that if we have a lot of objects, I mean, if we have hundreds or thousands of objects, we need lots of pairwise comparisons per each pair. So it can be also a problem. But I will show you how we can try to deal with this problem. Yeah, so today we're going to discuss pairwise approach. We're going to discuss side-by-side approach, and what it means here. If we get pairwise comparisons per each pair of objects, and we can put an item on rank I if it is better than I-1 objects. So we can put it we can assign it a rank I. Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, for a person, it is easier and much more natural to compare objects rather than trying to sort them. And when this task to compare two objects is easier than to try to sort them, it means that we will get much more the quality of our data will be higher. So it's very important to when we're trying to create some machine learning models to have a high quality data. Yeah, and moreover, when we get side-by-side comparisons, side-by-side assessments, they are much more stable and reproducible. For example, if we launch assessment today on crowdsourcers, we can get almost similar results in a month or even in a year. And I would like to share an insight with you that I have some examples in my presentation, and when I used to prepare the presentation, I just launched this experiment again and got almost the same results, despite the fact that these examples were created at Yandex a year ago, and I was really surprised because they are highly reproduced. But if you try to reproduce a listwise approach or pointwise approach, these results won't be reproducible. So it's another plus for side-by-side comparison. Okay, yeah, let's go on. So how side-by-side looks like? We have two objects. Let's call these objects. These can be search query results or pictures, or I don't know, backgrounds, background images, anything you want, or logos. And each user, each crowdsourcer gets such pair, and then he decides what object is better, the left one or right one. And then we ask lots of crowdsourcers about their preference, and then we aggregate our data and get a ranking, and we can use it. Yeah, here is one more example. Here are just the pictures. On this example, here are some documents. For example, in this particular example, we're trying to decide whether which document is better for a particular search query. For example, we have a search query and we would like to decide what document is better as a search result for this query and would like to create a ranking. So here is a way how we can rank objects in search results. Yeah, okay. And certainly there are some difficulties. And with this side-by-side approach, and I'm going to share you some examples where we can face such difficulties. For example, let's assume that we would like to sort people by age by their photos, and we have photos of people. And so what is the problem that we can face with here? The problem is that we are going to compare people not by their age, but by their view, by the quality of photo. And yeah, this is a problem because we are sorting not by age, but by the view of their age, or by how people think that their real age is. So yeah, this is the first problem. Yeah, that we should assume that we are sorting not by but direct age. We are sorting by the people, how people mind, how old are these people. Another difficulty is that people have various preferences. For example, some people prefer iPhone, some others prefer Android, and all. I mean, the first group of people who prefer iPhone, they will think that iPhone is better and iPhone Apple interfaces are better, while the second group who prefer Android, they will say that iPhone interfaces are bad, they don't like it. So yes, it's another problem that people have preferences, and we should deal with that people have various preferences. And while creating such crowdsourced assessment, we should try to reduce people's preferences as much as we can. For example, somebody of you said that he or she is comparing search query search results with Google. So the main idea that you should remove the header. You shouldn't compare Bing results with Google results with headers, because a person have a preference for Google, for example, or for Bing. So he would rather choose Google or Bing. And so the first idea to reduce this preference impact is just remove header. Is the first idea. Yeah, so it's just a picture. Yeah, it's one more picture with iPhone and Android. So yeah, let's go on. And one more problem is that when you're trying to select something beautiful, you cannot describe what beautiful is. Because each person has his own preferences, and for example, somebody prefers mountains, another person prefers I don't know, lakes or seas, and yeah, and it can be difficult to choose the best, the most beautiful, because you don't know ground truth here, and it can be difficult to select the best one. And another problem which is related to this issue is that if you add lots of awful objects to sort and then select the best of awful, you will get an awful object. I mean, like garbage in, garbage out. So it's another problem that you should remember. I would like to share you also a story from Yandex employment. Well, there was they were selecting a logo for as far as I remember, for a New Year event or for another holiday, and the designer created a couple of objects, and then they side by sided some of them, and finally they selected the one and then published it. But this object was awful, and there was lots of criticism for critics for this picture, and they said we side-by-sided it and selected the best one, but then discovered and found out that they tested a couple of images. All of them were awful, and they just selected the least awful and put it on the main page, and got some negative impact. Okay, so yeah, let's continue. Yeah, and there are some other difficulties that we can face with. It is limited resolution. For example, if you have issues with your screenshots quality, and there can be offsets. We also call them biases or preferences. For example, as far as some people can prefer to put to select the left picture. Some people prefer to select the right object. So it's better to shuffle them to get non-biased results. Yeah, and the last difficulty that we have already discussed is subjectivity. I mean, just people's preferences. So how can we reduce the impact? So how can we work with these difficulties? One idea is to create a button I cannot decide. So we let our users to select not only left or right objects, but we can answer them I cannot decide, or I cannot see difference, or I don't know. So why this can help you? If a person really doesn't know what is better, he just doesn't know because, for example, he has no preferences or objects are almost the same. He just taps on he cannot decide, and you will get a much more the quality of your data will increase, and you will not get a rubbish data where users selected only one object because they had to do it. So yeah, it's one possible solution that can help you. Unfortunately, as you maybe know, there are control tasks in Slack that are created by user. In the Yandex, they're also called honeypots. To be honest, I don't know why they are called this way, but they're called honeypots. I don't know why. In Yandex Slack interface, they're called control tasks, and yeah, it means that if you add another button to your interface, it means that you need to add control tasks in order to maintain high quality of your crowdsourcing data. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Also, let's speak a little bit about offsets. Well, what should I add here? You should add various honeypots. For example, also as we discussed earlier, we discussed search quality, measuring search quality and measuring search quality pages. I would like to share with you one more insight that crowdsourced people and not crowdsourced people, just lots of people prefer pictures. For example, a lot of people seem that adding pictures to the higher position in search results seems to be good, but in real situation, in real life, it's not. For example, we don't need pictures in the top of our search query on the for the query I don't know. For example, for the query, for example, let's imagine the query distance from Moscow to New York. So what do we expect as research results for this query? We expect, for example, a map, or maybe an object answer with a particular distance. But we don't need, in the top of our page, we don't need any pictures. We don't need pictures of planes, or I don't know, rockets. We just need a fact. But when assessing search page with crowdsourcers, lots of them prefer pictures, and sometimes you can get a problem when you see that matrix is green when you add a new pictures in the top of your page. So you may think that it's good to add more pictures in the top of such page, but really it's not. So so yeah, and how can you deal with it? You should try to imagine and create honeypots, also known as control tasks, to not to allow users to select search results with pictures in the top of your page. It's just one example. Yeah, and yeah, let's speak about how can we control quality. I mean, how can we make our crowdsourcers to perform better, and how can we make them to solve our tasks properly? We can add probabilistic honeypots. For example, it can be very hard to create control tasks which are in 100% we know the answer. Maybe we can create control tasks where we are not sure at 100%, but we are sure about 80% or 90% or even 70%, and we don't punish or ban people for reducing this level, but we try to find out. We would like to be sure that they answer these control tasks the same way as other people. Another approach is a weighted majority vote. Basically, when we aggregate our results, we use a majority vote, and the winner is that object that got most of answers, or not most answers, but got most of answers. And yeah, the problem is that maybe he got these answers from bots of cheaters, or I don't know, or other people who don't perform good. So maybe we can try to score our crowdsourcers and select and give higher weight to them who perform better. So we can maybe use weighted majority vote. And advanced approach is trying to use a probabilistic model. It's really advanced approach, and when I used to work at Yandex, we used this as well, but it was really advanced, and in my opinion, maybe it wasn't really necessary. It worked. It helped us to increase data quality, but maybe it was too much. But it worked. Yeah, it's just here is a slide with an idea how to create probabilistic honeypots, which we have just discussed. And yeah, here is the slide with the majority vote. So here are the cons of classic majority vote and possible solution to use a weighted majority vote. And yeah, let's discuss probabilistic modeling. It's a really advanced approach. So how can we deal with it? We can assume that each object has its real score, and we can assume that each worker works fine with probability gamma. Here is it, and with probability 1 minus gamma, he's not a good. His quality is bad, and he just randomly selects answer. So yeah, so we have such probabilistic modeling, and we can try to use MLE, maximum likelihood estimation approach here to find out these variables. And yeah, it worked. It worked. It had some. It has some difficulties. For example, if you if you don't have enough data, for example, you may overfit. So how did we deal with this problem? These variables that show us worker quality, we just used to calculate them over a huge over previous experiments, over previous labeling, data labeling, and then we had pre-calculated data for workers, and after that we just calculated values for objects. But in my opinion, it's an advanced approach, and we shouldn't use it ahead. We should start with more simple approaches, and after that only use this advanced one. Okay, so yeah, let's continue. And what is the problem? Yeah, as I mentioned, if you try to sort your objects pairwise, you can have a problem. You have a problem that if you have n objects, you need to compare 2 in power of n pairs, and it's too much. So you need to reduce this number of pairs. And how can you solve this problem? Well, generally, you when you try to solve this problem and you perform some experiments on real data, you can find out that you don't need to compare all pairs. You can just compare some of them, and you will get a highly correlated ranking with a perfect ranking. I call perfect ranking is a ranking which we got by measuring all pairs. So of course, if you get a bigger data set, you will get high scores, but you don't need it. You just need maybe 10% of pairs to assess to get almost 80% correlated ranking with a perfect one. If you, I'd like to share one more insight. If you try to implement an algorithm to select some points, we call it support objects, like in support we call machine algorithm. We also call it support objects. So maybe you can compare only with them and get a ranking that works for you.
I love you, Babu. Sorry, Daddy has a meeting right now. These people are calling Daddy from Russia. You know where they are calling from? Russia so far away. That's why the connection is not that good. Right now in Russia, it's the night time.
Troy?
Oops. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, please mute yourself. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So yeah, here, so generally you don't need to compare all pairs. You can just compare. You can assess some of them and get a ranking that will work for you. Yeah. Okay. So this is generally the end of the first part of my speech. We call in Yandex we used to call it a classical side-by-side, a side-by-side that was used to that we used to calculate search quality. We use this approach to calculate quality of search pages, and yeah, and now I'm going to share with you some ideas how we can use Telaka and side-by-side approach to get some UX to calculate to perform some UX tests. Yeah, I'm going to share you some ideas. Okay, let's start. First of all, I'm going to share with you, and then we will implement one of them on Yandex Plaka together. So yeah, let's imagine that you're a product owner of Yandex Ether web service. It's like a video service, and you are going to select a logo for you for a new series. So how can you choose a logo? You can choose it manually. You can launch an A/B test, or you can use side-by-side. So you launch a project in side-by-side, compare this object that the designer created, and after that you can get a score. Moreover, if you create a project and ask your crowdsourcers to add some comments, you can get also a comment that can help you as a product owner to select the best object, or maybe to try to find out another one. For example, if it is an Indian series and here is a logo with elephant, you can get a comment that elephant is associated not only with India but also with Africa. So maybe it's better to use something else. And moreover, I wanted to share, as I mentioned earlier, these results are really stable over the time. And this experiment was conducted a few times, and always I got similar results, almost similar, like 80 to 20. Yeah, and here are some statistics. In this experiment participated 400 people. It costed me $4, and this experiment finished in 25 minutes. Let's go on. Here is one more experiment. As you know, Yandex launched, as you maybe know, maybe not, it seems that not, launched his Yandex phone a few years ago, and prior to this launch, they tried to select their backgrounds. They had a huge number of pictures, a really huge number, and then they sorted them via side-by-side approach. So they got lots of pairs comparisons, and after that we sorted them and got ranking, and they selected top of them and put them into their phone to the library. Yeah, it cost about $11, and about 700 people conducted in this experiment. So in this way, you can compare icons, logos, thumbs, ranking, replies for voice assistants, stickers for Messenger, and anything you can imagine. So now I'm going to share with you some more UX tests that you can conduct over Flaca. You can just conduct surveys, also known as first mind surveys. So you can just ask crowdsources what do they think about your picture, about your icon, or anything else, and then you can get lots of comments, and then you can sort them and maybe get some insights. For example, here's just one insight where a few years ago, when Yandex wanted to mark websites that use SSL HTTPS. So they tried to mark with such icon, but nobody understood what does its icon mean. So maybe this icon is not the best option for it. So it's quite a simple experiment. It cost me about $1, and 100 people participated in it. Here is one more idea. So if you'd like to sort or maybe classify objects in a group, for example, it's a real experiment. It's a real experiment. As you know, there is Yandex Meal, like Uber Eats, which deliver food, and they wanted to decide in what category they should assign this particular meal. And they asked crowdsourcers what do they think, and they understood that this meal should be assigned not only soup but also a lunch, because people associate it with lunch, and people want to find it at lunch, and it wasn't in sight, and it really seems nice for me. This experiment was so here are statistics for this experiment. Now I'd like to conduct an experiment with you. It would be great if you can see my slide now and then answer the question. So let's try to conduct an experiment together. I will show you a screenshot, and then I will ask you a few questions. Not a few, but just one question. So oh, sorry, it didn't work. I don't know. It should have disappeared. I don't know. Yeah, it seems that I have some issues with PowerPoint. The experiment didn't work for me. I don't know. It should have disappeared, but I will explain you. This is called a first impression experiment, when you show somebody a picture and then it disappears. And then you ask a person, what did he remember? And you can get also some insights. These can be useful when you are trying to estimate or assess some ads, when you're trying to assess what the person remember from your ads. For example, from this particular ads, as you can think, as you can assume, people remember that there is some discount. They don't remember that the high discount is for business class rides. He just remembers that here is a high discount. So it is the way how you can measure first impression, and you can measure what do users remember from your ads. And here is one more example. Also, the perfect solution, the perfect way to measure your web application is to launch A/B test, but sometimes you don't want to do it because A/B test because conducting A/B test is really expensive, but you want to test the hypothesis before. So you can also try to use some UX test for it. Here's an example, and you would like to select where to put buy full course button, here or here, and so how can you measure it? And normal CDSI approach doesn't work here because you as a product owner, you are not interested in what looks better. You are interested in users who can find this button faster. So you would like to pick up the option where users can find button by full course faster. So in this particular, so what test can you launch? You can launch so-called offline A/B test. You can ask people to you can split your workers into two groups, and the first group you can ask to press the by full course button on the left option, and the second group you can ask to press by full course button on the right option. And then you can compare some metrics. For example, you can compare time to click or total time, and then you can imagine what option is better. And moreover, I would like to share with you an insight that the results of this particular test are highly correlated with a real A/B test. So here are results. Here's a quick map, but it's not necessary here. And average time to click for this option is 8 seconds, and for this option is 9 seconds. And even as for me, this button is better, but this button is more discoverable by users. And these results are highly correlated with a real A/B test. And in my opinion, it's really great because you don't need to launch a real A/B test. You can conduct an offline test and to test your hypothesis and get almost the same results. And in my opinion, it's really great. Yeah, okay, here is one more idea for your experience, for your tests. Sorry, it's in Russian, I'm really sorry. But you can use a screencast. There are various screencast libraries, for example, Yandex Metrica, WebVisor, or there are some other ones that you can use. So you can just calculate. You can record what happens with users on your screen, and then you can use this video for discovering some insights. For example, my example is the search query is cat in German, and we can see that the user when user explores this page, he just uses this first item with Yandex Translate, and he doesn't need these awful pictures. He doesn't need these search results. He just needs a translator and nothing more. Maybe you don't need to show anything else. It's just an idea, an insight that you can get from such experiment. Yeah, well, now, yeah, this is the end of my speech, and we are moving to the third part. And I would like to create an experiment with you. As far as understood, some of them have never used Yandex Plaka, and yeah, I'm going to create an experiment with you. We are going to create a side-by-side, and yeah, we are going to create a project, and then we are going to get results, and I hope we will get them. We will create a small project, small pool, and then we will assign them. Okay, let's begin. I have picked up a few pictures, a few Moscow pictures. 1, 2, 3. As to be honest, I don't like almost all of them. Garbage in. And we would like to sort them. We would like to select the best picture for a background. Let's imagine that we are selecting a picture for a background, and yeah, and we are going to assign them with Yandex Plaka. So we are going to create a project. So here is a project. we can, here are some presets. These presets are really great in my opinion, so you can use them. Also, here is a preset for side-by-side image comparison. We are going to use this one. Also, we're going to modify it a little bit. Okay, name to show performers, image comparison. Okay, descriptors for performers. Are these two images duplicated? No, it's not for us. We need what image is better. Okay, let's go on. Task interface. Here is some HTML code. Let's preview it. Okay. We need 2 buttons. Let's imagine that we need 2 buttons, left one and right one. Okay, let's improve it. We need only 2 buttons. We need value left and value right. Let's preview it again. It didn't work for us. Well, where is the problem? Label. I didn't remove. I didn't replace label. Sorry. Left and right. Let's preview it again. Well, we got necessary buttons. So then we would like to prettify it a little bit. We would like to maybe put this item to the center. So how can we do it? Unfortunately, we need to know some HTML basics, but it's not very complicated. But it's not very complex. So how can we modify it? Maybe you can add it somewhere here. Footer. If we add element style. Maybe this one will work. Well, it doesn't work well. Okay. Don't mind. So in my example, it will be just left and right this, but if we investigate this objects, we can find out how to put them, how to put this button to the center, because it will be more, because it will be better for our performance. So yeah, let's preview again. Let's test that our links work. Here are links for images. So let's check that these images work. Change input data. Okay, what's wrong? Here's the apply button. Well, it doesn't work. What was wrong? What's wrong with maybe an image? We'll use another image. Apply. Well, this image works, so it seems that there is a problem with this image. So copy image address. Yeah, this is better. Copy link address. So yeah, I hope everything works, and this preview will work for us. Okay, let's go on. And yeah, here is input data, image left, image right. Here is output data. Well, seems it's okay. We need to create an instruction for performers. Well, as it is just an example, we will create a simple instruction. Just select the picture you like more. Of course, if you are comparing search engine results, you need to create much more complicated instructions with examples and describing what is good or not. Translations. Oh, great. We can add translations here. But we will not use them as it's just an example. So, or maybe we can use it anyhow. well, let's keep it. And then we create a project. We create a project, and how easy it was. It was easy enough. Then we create a pool. Pool is an object where we launch our assessments. So pool name image comparison, a pool type is just a pool. Audience, we will not select the audience now. Price, let's imagine that our price will be 0.03 or 0.2. Quality control, task overlap will be 3 is enough. Yeah, I think this is enough for us. Of course, when launching a real projects, we can add more filters, more complicated filters, but it's just an example. So I just select it as is. So yeah, let's create a pool. What's wrong with it? Okay, let's create a pool. Here is a pool for us, and we need to upload tasks. Of course, for pipelines, we can use the API, in my opinion, or you can use even Python library. There is a special Python library for Tlaka. And but now we are going to use just file, and yeah, we are going to use a file. We will use one task per page, and here is a sample file for uploading tasks. I have downloaded, and then I will open it with Jupyter to show you. Well, here is our file, and we need to create such file for our 3 images. So we have 3 images, and we need to combine each pair for this image. So yeah, let's create a list with these images. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So here are images pairs, and we would like to create a similar data set. We don't need this one and this one. We can just create image input left and image right. So what we're going to do, we need to create pairs. So let it be pairs for left in images, for right in images. We don't need to compare where left equals to right. Just continue. And pairs append left and right. So we create pairs, and yeah, so we can save these images to data frame and then push it to Tlaka. So we just save it to yeah, and then we save it. And then we can upload it here, and then you launch your assessment, and you can, yeah, seems I got some error. Well, I need to remove some headers. Then you can launch your assessment and get your results. So yeah, seems our time is almost over. I would like you to have an opportunity to ask a few questions. So yeah, well, I'm going to finish my speech now. I'd like to answer your questions. So yeah, you're welcome to answer a question. You are welcome to ask questions, and I will try to answer them. So yeah.
I think I had one question, right, which is like when you ask people kind of like the example you showed, right, like how do you know that they're giving you the right answer or just a random answer, right? Like when you show them two pictures of the two phones, right, how do you know that they're actually kind of giving you a good answer, or they've not even thought about it and they're just randomly picking one?
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. Do you mean the example from my presentation, or what one?
Yeah, the example you're just doing right now, right? The two pictures of Moscow, right? How do you know, or how do you know that a judge is actually giving their true opinion, or whether they're just like closing their eyes and randomly picking one of them, right?
Okay, yeah. So, okay, thanks for the question. It's a good question. It is necessary to create a good quality control. For example, in my example, which I wanted to launch, I didn't create a quality control because it's not a production solution. It's just an example. But when you create a production solution, you need to create quality controls, and you add control tasks, also known as honeypots, where you know or almost know a correct answer.
Of course, I mean that I'm fully aware of. The question is for preference-based tasks. How do you create honeypots? Like, do you like red or blue? Right? How do you create honeypots for those kind of tasks?
Okay, yeah, good question. At Yandex, when we work at Yandex, we used a few stages. The first stage was to use results from another project. In another project, we know we had.
So basically, like some kind of diligence signal, right? You know these are good judges.
So you have It was one stage. Another stage, people could add comments, and we use some machine learning techniques to calculate whether comment is useful or not. So if the user just adds some awful comments, we just park him.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, just two stages. But if you can just, for us, it was enough because we got really good enough results. But if it is necessary, it's really, you can imagine and create various techniques to control quality.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I got to drop off right now, but thanks for the great presentation. It was really helpful. I'll probably sync with you offline.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah. Do we have any other questions, since we are like out of time a little bit? It's already 9 here in Moscow, at least. Yeah. So the only one I saw among templates was for images. Are there already templates for comparing text, or do we just edit to suite comparing text and other? Are several side by side in one hit search normally?
Sorry, I just didn't understand.
Can you see the question in the chat box?
There is. Oh, sorry, there are some. Oh yeah, I missed the question. Sorry. The only one that's among the place was for images. Are there templates for comparing text, or do we just edit it to suit comparing text, etc.? Are several as best in one hit search normal? Okay, great. Thanks for your question. Well, I'll try to answer the easiest questions before, and then another. So are several SBS in one hit served normally? In my opinion, if SBSs are similar, or for example, if you are comparing just pictures or backgrounds, it's really great if you just mix them. But if you are comparing backgrounds with search query results, in my opinion, they are too different. So you shouldn't mix them. And about comparing texts, maybe there is no project for comparing texts, but it's really easy to create such projects. So you can just replace your inputs. I can even show you if we have no more questions. I can show you how to do it. It's not very difficult. I can show you. So yeah.
Let's say if we have another questions, maybe.
Yeah.
You can show to.
Yeah, if we. Yeah, if you have any more questions, so we can discuss them, and I'll try to show you how we can use this template for comparing texts. So yeah, if we have any more questions, let's discuss them, and after that we will discuss how to create a project for comparing texts.
Yeah, and meanwhile, for those who are here with us now, I would like to say that we will send you a follow-up later this week with the recording of this webinar. And if you have any questions, you can just contact me or Dmitry if you have any question later anyway. So I would like to thank all of you for joining us today with our regular webinars for Microsoft. And yep, thank you again. And if you want me to show to Zhenya or others as well, how you can do comparing templates for comparing text.
Yeah,
free
thanks.
To do this. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for participating in this webinar. Yeah, so let's discuss this template. Yeah, discuss this template. Okay, so how it works. Generally, it works in this way. Here is our data inputs, and here's our URL. Here's a link to our image. So we can replace it with not link, but some string value. And image right, we can also replace it. It will be not a link, but it will be a string. And yeah, and yeah, we have, of course, we can rename image left and image right, but now we will keep it. And then here are input fields in left one and right one, and we can replace it with not image, but some text field. So let's watch what we can add here. We can add some text or maybe text area. Let's start with text, but since that we need text area, let's start with this one. Okay, so just copy it, and I will use this. Input field name is so input is image left, I think, or no, image. Yeah, I think it will be image left, and we don't need this line anymore. And the same with image right. Image right. So yeah, let's preview it. Yeah, text from image left field and text from image right field, and we can change our input data. This will be left input data, and here will be right input data, and we can apply it. Yeah, and here is our simple text side by side, so we can compare texts. Yeah, so yeah, hope I answered your question. Yeah, you're welcome.
Super. So yeah, so we showed how we can do the text comparison.
Yeah.
So I think if we don't have any questions, we can close for today this webinar. Are you okay with that? Any other questions maybe?
Yeah, if you have any more questions, we can discuss them. Yeah, if there are no questions, yeah, we can
end for today.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I suppose we can we can end this webinar. Dmitry, thank you very much for this great presentation demo. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you in our upcoming webinars. And just wait for our follow-up with the recording so that you can just practice at your own time. Thank you and have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.